So I'm going to start by asking each of our panelists to introduce themselves to you, and then we'll start with a bunch of questions. And if we have time, we'll take your questions. So be ready. Okay. Gentlemen, go ahead. We'll start with you, Nick.
Fair enough. Nick Lenaeus, I'm with Red Hat. We're a software firm, and for Red Hat, I'm responsible for the state, local, and education business.
Good morning, everybody. I'm J.J. Eden. I'm the Executive Director of the North Carolina Turnpike, and I'm one of the founders of EasyPass.
Good morning, all. I'm Chapin Flynn. I am a Senior Vice President at Mastercard, and I specialize in urban mobility.
Great. So we're going to start with some questions. It sounds like there may be some new knowledge needed here. So we're going to start with some questions from each of the panelists about what is in-car payment, how does it work, how do I sign up for it if I want to. Nick, you want to start?
Hey, JJ, why don't you take it?
Yeah, I'll start with
Oh,
this
that's
one.
right.
Yeah, no problem. So first of all, everyone knows what tolling is. Right now, you have to have a transponder. You have to go buy it. You have to figure out which one you want, put it on. You have a customer service center and all that stuff. We're trying to eliminate all that. We're trying to make this just a retail transaction. So basically, the car today, any car that's about 10 years old or newer, is capable of knowing where it is, what it is, you know, all the details. So right off the internet. So we're going to be taking advantage of all the technology that's already in the car, and then the advantage of some of the stuff that Chapin's group and Mastercard has done in Tap and Go. Who's used Tap and Go, right, to buy a candy bar or something? So, you know, I always say we haven't invented anything new. All we did is get the right people in the room. I mean, Tap and Go is great. We use it. We've been collecting tolls out of the car forever, right? But the technology is dated. The transponder we're currently using today actually was developed in Los Alamos to track troops probably 50 years ago. So it's time to, you know, upgrade and move into a different technology.
That's so exciting that it's been around for a while. Chapin, you want to elaborate a little bit about how does it work?
Sure. I'm happy to. I'm going to steal JJ's thunder a little bit. But so I think what the real key thing that we wanted to do with tolling was, as JJ said, we wanted to make it really seamless for the end user. So right now, when you look at a transponder, there are little hiccups along the way there. So things like having to reload it creates a little bit of friction. We were just talking about that before the session. So when do I reload it? Do I have enough to make this journey? How do I do that? Little tiny moments of friction that we said we'd really love to kind of take the friction out of the transponder-based journey. And so really all a user has to do is when the car is properly equipped, is you basically put your credit card information straight into the car. There is a process that binds your credit card to the car data, like the vehicle identification number, and it creates this secure version of a payment in the background in the car, so that as soon as it passes through these geocentric points, it knows that and can charge you for it. And I will just say, if you've ever entered your credit card into your phone, it's the same basic process. The car is just handling the transaction rather than your phone.
Does this all make sense to you? Say yes.
So we're actually mostly through the development phase. We're going to be piloting it in North Carolina. Within the next couple of weeks, we're actually going to go live with transactions with a limited amount of people. And then we hope to expand it in tolling right after that. But it's more than tolling. So it will give you the capability to do parking, you know, drive-through, say fast food, you know, car washes, you know, all the above. So just again, and the neat thing about this, it's been talked about for a while, but they always maintain the wallet or money on the car. This isn't doing that. This is going right to your credit card eventually. And so whether it's, and MasterCard's our partner in this, but it doesn't have to be a MasterCard. You know, so it's a highly encrypted transaction. And you know, it's probably the most encrypted transaction out of the car that we've ever seen. So, and again, as Chapin said, it's no different than signing up for, you know, Sirius XM or anything on your phone. It's the same type of process.
That's exciting. Sir, repeat your question so we can all hear it.
Anyone driving my car can buy hamburgers and charge it to me.
We have actually tested with fast food, and exactly that happened. So there'll be some security, so the person that's tied to the vehicle. So it was what happened. We're testing it in Chicago, at a McDonald's actually, and all of a sudden we were getting complaints from parents that their children were driving through and go, "Hey, and the 2 cars behind me," right? Things like that. So, as we move into the fast food model, and again, we're going to walk before we run. We're starting with tolling because we know that model pretty well. Parking is probably the next easiest, and then as we get into the other ones, they're more real time too. They're different business model. We'll move into that. So, but you hit a stumbling block, absolutely.
That sounds great. Chapin, you want to add to that?
Just very quickly. So we actually launched something similar in Europe, Mercedes-Benz Fuel and Pay. What you do is they were concerned about this issue, and so they installed a fingerprint reader in their car. They also have in Europe alertness detection cameras in the rearview mirror, and that alertness detection can be used to biometrically identify your face to make sure it's you. So anyway, there are ways out there to tackle that one.
That's exciting. And I think what I'd like to do for the panel is back up a little bit for those of you still wanting to sort of hear the foundational elements of this. And beyond tolling, as JJ has just said, what was the big problem each of you was trying to solve in terms of in-car payments? Nick, you want to talk to that first?
Sure. Thanks, Sandra, for the question. Yeah, from a Red Hat perspective, we're usually the software that you guys don't know is inside of important things. So, this technology that we in partnership with JJ's team and Manish and others, Mastercard, of course, has been proven across billions and billions of secure transactions with provenance of identity and security. That's the Red Hat OpenShift application platform, other technologies in there around APIs and other things that secure those transactions for both the payers, like the constituents that are out driving the cars, as well as for government to make sure that they're not trying to, take payments from people that they shouldn't, et cetera. So it's just a really exciting project to.
Wait, can you elaborate? I mean,
Sure.
You said there's technology in the car that we don't know is there? Tell us.
Well, no, that's for the car manufacturers to explain. So, but if you've been doing banking, think about regulated industries of banking, insurance, government, very regulated, et cetera. So, we have to make sure everybody, you're secure. You have the provenance of identity. The provenance of the person you're paying from is legit, right? There's all types of fraud, et cetera. Okay. So, it's very important that these things are in hardened, enterprise secure environments, that have like fault-tolerant capabilities around, authenticated delivery of the toll that they just paid. Otherwise, you're going to get like a, hey, you didn't pay. Now you owe us more money, and you owe a what's the fees for when people don't pay? They go up.
They go up, and from the toll agency side, eventually, the gantries, they cost millions of dollars, right? To run the back office, tens of millions of dollars, right? Just to buy the system and operate them all the time. So it will significantly reduce our cost on that side. But more importantly, it will enhance our customer service. It's much easier for somebody to just get in your car and drive and have it paid to your Mastercard or whatever than it is to worry about having an account. We're talking to somebody before the session and said, I go to New York and I don't even know if it works up there, right? So this will be embedded in multiple vehicles. We're starting with Volvo because, as I said, I like to walk before I run. Volvo has developed the in-car app, but they're going to give it away. They're going to give it to the other car manufacturers so this scales. So we've already been talking to major parking garages. There are people that own 2,000 parking garages, and they're calling, can we do it next? I spoke at the Consumer Electronics Show, and I had one of the major car wash companies come and go, when can we do it? So I just had a toll agency call me and say, hey, we bought three Volvos, when can we start? But, so this is something I think the public is ready for, too. It kind of takes government out of the transaction, too. So now it's just like buying a hamburger or a candy bar with your tap and go.
I love that. It's about safety, security, efficiency. It's about giving us a service that we've never had before. Chapin, what's the problem you were working to solve with Mastercard?
Well, JJ already talked about the state's problem, which I think is a real one, and we really wanted to help with that. But maybe I could be a little more forward-looking in what we wanted to do. We would really love to get to the point where connected car commerce is just a part of the way in which we live our lives. It's not an extra step. And so maybe if I get to be a little bit forward-looking, JJ mentioned drive-throughs and things like that. Imagine you get in your car in the morning and you say, I need to go to 16th and Chestnut. You just say that to your car. The car goes, okay, well, we can get you to 16th and Chestnut, and then say, oh, and by the way, could you find me the cheapest parking within 4 blocks, book it and pay for it, and order me a grande Starbucks on the way down, find me the closest Starbucks that's not going to reroute me, book it, pay for it, and have it ready just as I'm pulling up. That is not a million miles away. That is all just using this technology that we're developing for tolling, but it's very easy to extend it beyond that. And I think when we talk about frictionless urban mobility, this is really a foundational tenet of that, is using the car to make that frictionless journey happen. And I think we're on the cusp of that, and this is really catapulting us into the future.
It's so interesting. You know, the car is no longer a car, right? It's not the automobile industry. It's entertainment. It's frictionless activities and services. It's very exciting. Are we thinking this is really exciting? And JJ, as the founder of EasyPass, for those of you that came late, isn't that exciting? The founder is here. So I'd like to know a little bit more about what inspired you to start this in the beginning.
Well, from EasyPass days to here. So we'll start with here. I mean, as I said, right now we're at a change in technology. Look what's happened to the car in the past 10 years, right? 10 years ago, we couldn't have done this, right? But now all the technology is already in the car. We're not inventing anything on that side. So we looked at what's the biggest pain points for our customers. We're very customer focused, you know, and it's getting the transponder. We're going to retail. You can buy. It's really weird because we give it away in North Carolina, but most people go to Publix or someplace else and pay for it, right? So then you have to worry about your account. Did the credit card expire or whatever happened? Or if you're traveling, you know, even I go up from North Carolina to Philadelphia to see my daughter, and I'm like, oh, I'm in Virginia. You know, did I update my license plate when I bought the new car? Right, and things like that. It takes care of all that. The car already knows what it is. So we're using the VIN number instead of a unique number, which again is tied back to your registration and everything else. So it makes it really secure for the person that's actually driving the vehicle. It's all about customer service for us. And on the backside, as I said, it also makes us more efficient, and we'll be able to build more roads or reduce tolls or whatever in the future as we go forward. And as Chapin said, the possibilities are limitless. The other thing that safety is a big deal for me. So my daughter was in a really bad accident when she was 17, and you know, so putting safety in the car is really tough. So there's some technologies out there where the cars can talk to each other, can talk to the infrastructure, but the car companies are reluctant to put it in because it costs money. So doing the payment system first gives them an avenue to start moving into that. It's called V2X, vehicle to everything. So, and we're testing that as the next phase of this. So it's kind of a multifaceted thing. It's I was at CES. I was a judge for the Consumer Electronics Show when Alexa was launched, and one of the comments myself and a couple of judges had out there was, geez, this is great as a personal assistant. It tells me what the weather is or maybe my schedule. But why don't you tie it into other things? And now look at it. So this is kind of limitless is what you could think of. I talk about, I always try to bring it back to something personal. So you're at home, you have a sick child, the child needs a prescription. In the future, you could just call up like a delivery service, send it to it could be an autonomous vehicle, send it to the drugstore, we'll pick up the drug, pay for it, and bring it to your house, right? I mean, that's what we're looking at in the future of transportation. So the last mile, we always worry about the last mile. Transit's a big deal, but you have to get there, right? So now, maybe you call up a car, you know, an automated Uber or Waymo or whatever, and it's paid for, right? It's always built in. It's always built into that same transaction. So it's really just your imagination, just like Alexa was and Siri was back in the day.
I have another question for you that's not on this list that was prepared for me. And I guess one of the things I think about is adaptive driving, synchronized driving, whether it's autonomous or not. I also think about traffic congestion. So are there ways of the technology that you're dealing with, are there ways that we could eliminate the congestion, which is still quite amazingly bad in many cities?
So another big advantage of this is now we have a secure data connection into the car. So, for instance, the car is now reporting traffic as it sees it. Cars today have cameras all the way around. So, Volvo, for instance, is teamed with Google. So Google owns Waze, right? So could you imagine an automated Waze? So most people report an incident, but never take it down, right? So it's when you see it happen, oh, okay, I'll report that. But then you go by and you go, yeah, no, it's not there anymore. You don't do that. So this is kind of an automated Waze. Anybody here from a city or something like that? So on the city side, how much of a pain in the neck is parking, on-street parking, right? So now the car knows its geolocation. It parks there. You have a record of it happening, so you don't have to go figure out which app you need in this particular city, right? Or if there's a parking meter, trying to find a coin to put in it and come back and feed it again. It will automatically go. So you keep thinking of more and more things that this will take care of.
Nick, do you have some thoughts? Do you have some
I'm
thoughts
just
about
going to
that,
add
Nick?
to that answer is that there's such a delay in the consumer mapping technology around this congestion that by the time you realize that it's happening in whichever one you pick, not picking on any particular one, it's not up to date. And the more people we can reroute in other directions with this type of technology, it helps to not compound the traffic. And that's a very significant thing for us because, you're trying to get somewhere where you want to be at that particular time, not a half hour late, right? So.
Chapin, you want to add to that? Go ahead, JJ.
Let me see. I just worked with a major sports team after the World Series. They had a lot of trouble getting people out of their parking lots, right? And the advantage of having the car talk is now you know where that congestion is, what exit from that parking lot, and you can coordinate it with the signalization within the city because all that is automated now. So chances are there's more traffic on a Sunday afternoon coming out of that venue than there is cross traffic. So the car knows what it is. It knows it's sitting in traffic. The cameras see the traffic around it, and it could transmit to the traffic management center or the traffic control center, which, by the way, we're working with automating that. So it would automatically regulate the traffic lights to have congestion, and we'll see that now there's congestion on the cross streets, and we can change the lights and then manage that traffic real time.
I love that idea because how many of you ever been to a baseball game? So we know the traffic after a baseball game, and why don't we coordinate it with you guys? I think this is your real opportunity. Chapin, you had something to add?
Just a quick one for those who are with the city. The other thing that's really critical is curb digitization. The sooner we can digitize the curb and know that there's no parking between those signs, or I can park in a school zone but only after hours, really helps with traffic flow overall. That is not trivial. I know how hard it is, but that is really critical to this continued congestion management.
Yeah. How many of you have been to trying to park a car and there's 5 signs that tell you when you can park? Let's get rid of that, Chapin. I'm counting on you for that. The other question I have is about the curb usage and the monetization of the curb in regard to wireless hookups, EV infrastructure. Is there anything along those lines where you're going to fix some of those problems? I guess if you just digitize the curb, it'll work.
I think that's one part of it is curb digitization and knowing the likelihood that a spot is open, making it traffic flow more easily. I think the other thing around curb digitization and monetization more specifically is probably around deliveries. And if I'm FedEx and I need to know that that curb space is going to be open when I arrive, that's really critical. But also the cities can monetize the heck out of that.
Yeah,
because if I'm, maybe I'm FedEx and I want to decrease my expenses due to ticketing, well, if I can just pay the city directly to say, let's have that spot be open when I'm ready to use it, I think it lifts everybody. So anyway,
Absolutely.
It's a side
and not
comment.
block my traffic lane with a FedEx truck. In fact, I won't say this publicly, but I think the FedEx people have a whole budget around traffic tickets because they are always getting them. We have time for some questions from the audience. Remind me if there's anything else I was supposed to ask you, gentlemen. We're good? Go ahead, Chapin.
I would just like to add maybe two really quick things. One is this is a private and secured and permissioned piece of activity. So the government, in this case North Carolina, is not tracking you without your permission. When you go into your Volvo and you enter your card, the very first question it says is, are you okay with us using your location data to do this? So the users are permissioning this, and I think that's a really critical aspect of this. The other one is that all of us that are involved in this program, Red Hat, Volvo, North Carolina, and Mastercard, all entered this with the knowledge that this needed to be an open ecosystem. It could not be, you can only use a Mastercard or you can only use a Volvo. All four of us kind of got into this and agreed we can use any credit card, any vehicle, any state, any software package that will support this. And that was foundational because in order for it to scale, it can't be closed off and limited. And I just wanted to note that those were really foundational principles and that this doesn't work without that openness, I don't think.
That's called a win-win. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and that's why we brought in Red Hat, because they, you guys have been open protocol on everything since Linux, right, back in the day. So, so it has to be open. It has to be something that everybody can use.
Great. Nick, closing comments? Closing thoughts?
Open and secure.
Open and secure.
It's what we all want.
How great
So,
is that?
Thank you, guys.
Questions from the audience. Come on. What do you want to know that you? How many of you signed up for Easy Pass? Yeah. Okay. Well, the rest of you get with the program. Go ahead. You had a question? Here, take my mic.
So with the glacial pace that government bodies tend to move at and just the overall lack of technical aptitude in some of those positions, how do you properly package incentives for cities and government bodies to push mass adoption sooner rather than later? Because by the time that I see most cities may implement this, what we're discussing may be antiquated, right? And I'm sure that's a real challenge or internal conversation.
So you're actually sitting next to our CTO, who created this. When we created the Turnpike back in the day, we created it with the idea of being an infrastructure enabler. So we can do pilots without a bid, right? We can invest in infrastructure enhancements in the future in order to move things forward. And it survived through multiple, political shifts, we'll leave it like that, which is amazing. For instance, like right now, you used to have to stop to pay a toll, right? We were the first to take that away. We did all electronic first, and we were a brand new toll road. There was no toll roads in North Carolina. We decided we would give it a shot. Everybody said it would fail, nobody would pay. And that's just not true. We put the enforcement arm behind it, right? Now it's nationwide. So everybody, multi-protocol transponders and the interoperability stuff, the companies wouldn't let us do it. They told me putting 2 receivers on a gantry was a violation and would actually not work because the receivers would interfere with each other. So we put it in the street, and then they threatened to sue me. And our attorney general stood up and said, go ahead. And of course they didn't, right? So I think it's developing the attitude. We're a small agency, right? So I have $15 billion in infrastructure I'm building. We're building this connected payment platform. We're developing the V2X, because currently, for those who are familiar with V2X, it's on a proprietary 5.9. That's never going to happen. Nobody can afford to put the RSUs out there, and I'm probably going to get shot by the 5.9 people. But we're going to take it to the internet as the next step for safety. It's having the people behind you to actually do it. So I couldn't develop it. That's why Manish is here. We both came from private sector. We both gave up really big paying jobs to come here to do this because we think it's important for people, right? I'm not going to speak for Manish, but for me, I get more satisfaction out of being able to develop something like this than I do out of making $1 million a year, right? So
That's really good news.
and it's
Thank you for that.
maybe sound dumb to my family, but
We have time for one more question. Anybody? Final question. Go ahead. Yes. You can take my mic.
might get feedback.
Can you please share some practical fleet use cases that you're working on? So like how this can be used for fleets outside of maybe the curb and delivery? Thank you.
Maybe I can start that one. Yeah, I think fleet is incredibly powerful, especially when you think about so fleet. You have fleet vehicles. It doesn't matter if it's a pharmaceutical fleet, a FedEx fleet. It doesn't matter. One of the challenges is that oftentimes now the payments within fleet environments are closed loop. So I went to my local Sunoco the other day, and there was a WEX sign there, and it said, "If you want to pay with this card, come inside." And so when I look at what this could do for applications like that, you just pull into your gas station, and in this case, the car can communicate directly with the retailer. In this case, it's just gas, and it can fuel the vehicle. It can pay for their tolls automatically. It could even get as specific as looking at the merchant category code and saying that vehicle needs tires right now. And I know that because of the vehicle performance, the tires are needed, and so it is an approved transaction. So it can facilitate fleet maintenance right out of the box with everything JJ just explained exists today. And so I think it is highly applicable to fleet, in addition to the consumer side as well.
Great.
And
Closing
on
comment, JJ.
Yeah, on the toll side, the fleets, I've spoken with a lot of fleet organizations, tolling's a pain in the neck, right? Because there's so many different agencies, there's no one place to pay, right? And you keep getting hit by fees and stuff like that from this one and that one. It consolidates us all into one credit card, basically, or one. And now, as Chapin said, you can do fuel, you can do tires, you can do all that stuff out of one payment mechanism. And, we talked about this a little bit before the session. Volvo owns Volvo trucks, right? If you get Audi in here, they own International, right? So, chances are this could be built right into the vehicle along with the car company side. And it's probably a better use case than some of the other stuff that's out there than parking and things like that.
Are you running a fleet operation? Say it louder. Oh, good. Good. Okay, last question. Go ahead. How do I sign up?
We'll be rolling it out over the next year or so, hopefully. And, just, pardon?
What's it called?
So we're in the process of actually branding it. I know that Volvo's calling their app Tollsy.
You can come up with something better.
I'm going to tell the CEO that, which I will, and have, but they're calling their app that. I'm sure all the car companies will want to call whatever their thing is their thing, but it will be out of one central thing. The key is we're not buying systems anymore. For those people who buy systems, we're trying to go to platforms, right? Now that you have AI, you have all the tools to be able to build a platform that actually a lot of people can use. Tolls for a long time bought systems, and then that company you bought the system over held you hostage basically for a long time. I know in one case I wanted to change a screenshot from one side to another, just a little icon, and they wanted $1 million because it was hard coded, right? So, now we're building platforms with open APIs in order to be able to scale more easily and to grow.
Thank you. Nick, you have a closing thought, closing idea?
The partnership of the innovation amongst these companies is really going to bring, it's interesting. Your fleet question is a really good example. The fleet doesn't exist for small business people, but it will. With things like this, the fleet scales down, and that's the thing that really hasn't happened. But it's just been great to work on together.
Yeah, Chapin, you have a final thought, final idea?
this has been a really fun program. It's been great to work with
I bet.
JJ, Volvo, and Red Hat. And I just would say this really is where the future is going. I would say stay tuned to this space because really interesting, dynamic things happening here. Hopefully that makes all of our lives just a little bit easier.
Absolutely. You know, it's so interesting, isn't it? We're living in a world of increasing unpredictability, uncertainty, especially, I have to say, in the United States of America. And yet this is such a positive collaboration. And it's all about making our lives safer, easier, frictionless, if you will. So a round of applause for these great panelists and their collaboration. Thank you.